Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. It's me again, Tracy with JDL Threads, and in today's video what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a digitized embroidery design that I did digitize myself. And yes, you guys, you're probably thinking, digitize again? Yes, that's right, because I go back and forth trying to practice on all these things. So today is digitizing practice with my embroidery machine. You guys know I'm practicing on the rhinestone templates. I'm practicing on everything. But today we're going to be practicing on digitizing out this Easter design that I'm going to put on a shirt. So welcome back if this is your first time here. Welcome if this is not your first time here, and thanks everybody who subscribed. So in today's video, what we're going to be needing for materials is we're going to be needing some cutaway stabilizer. We're going to be needing a t-shirt. I think that I did get this t-shirt from Jiffy Shirts. I'm going to also be using my 8x9 Mighty Hoop. And then we're also going to be using the Hoopmaster Station as well as the CHROMA MT1501. Now, I'm not going to take you guys through the whole digitizing process of actually digitizing out the whole image, because when I tell you it took me all day, and I mean all day, to digitize just out this simple design, because I'm still trying to figure out the best way to put my nose or dots so that I won't have so many jumps and trims, and just I'll put one down and then I'll change it and be like, no, I think it could be better this way. So I'm gonna just give you guys a little simple version of how it's done, and then I'm gonna send you through the retrace drawing part of it, where the CHROMA LUXE software actually stitches out the design the way I put the nodes in to stitch out the design. And then we're going to go ahead and stitch it out on the CHROMA MT1501 and get it on my shirt. So without further ado, head on over to my computer so we can show you the design I'm going to stitch out today. All right, everybody. So we are over here to my CHROMA LUXE software, and I'm going to show you the design I'm going to stitch out. Hopefully my mouse works with me today, because sometimes this mouse is being very naughty. All right, and as you guys may or may not know, I did get a design, this one here, my chick bunny design from Creative Fabrica. This one is a PNG file, and I just had to go in and put down all the nodes, all the stitches to get this design to stitch out in embroidery. So all we did was I clicked on this image. I'm going to drag it into my CHROMA LUXE software here and put it in just like so. Now this one is the stitched out design that I did stitch out in stitches, but I'm going to just scoot this one over, make it a little bit smaller, and show you just a little bit of how I was able to achieve the stitch out designs. And we're going to move this guy over here because I don't want him in the way. All right. Okay, everybody. So we are over to the computer, and I'm going to do my very best now to try to show you how I'm trying to teach myself how to be a better digitizer. I will say that it takes a lot of practice, but you just got to keep trying, everybody. So here is the little chick bunny that we're going to do, and we're going to put flat stitches or complex fills on the yellow, and satin stitches for the border. Now I'm not going to digitize the whole thing, because again, it did take me quite a long time to digitize this image. But I will show you how I'm learning to put down the runs and where to end the starts and stops, so that we can kind of get a seamless embroidery stitch out versus having to have the machine do so many stops and trims. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I am going to digitize these bunny ears here, and I'm just going to scroll up and down to make my picture bigger so that I can really see where those bunny ears need to have stitches. And the most important thing also, guys, is you want to overlap your your picture. So you don't want to start on the white portion right here. You want to start somewhere in the middle of your other color so that all the stitches kind of lapped over each other, and then that way you won't have gaps in your final stitch out. So down here to the left of the screen, you have your satin stitch, you have your complex fill stitch, your classic satin stitch, your steel, which is like an outline, your run, and yeah, that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the white part of these bunny ears a complex fill because I want those to be flat. So I'm just going to left click on complex fill, and I'm going to use my mouse. I'm going to left click on my mouse like so. And you see that I'm getting a bunch of squares, and that only means that there are straight lines. It really doesn't matter at this point because it's all going to be hidden anyway. If you want to make it a curve, then what you would do is you would hold your control key on your computer and hit your left key on your mouse. And now you see they turn to circles, and that makes them curves. Okay, then you let it go and it goes back to squares, which are straight stitches. Again, I'm staying inside of my black outline so that I can assure that I am not going to have any gaps in my colors. So now I want to go from this side of the bunny ear all the way over to this side. So up here we have the top left hand corner of our computer. The bottom one is our shape tool, and the top arrow, the pointy arrow, is our select tool. Shape tool will bring us back to where all of our nodes or dots are, and then the select tool will just select whichever part of the design that you're on. But I want to hit the shape tool because now I want to see where my starts and stops. So you see my start is way down here and my stop is way over here, but I want to try to get over here. So I don't want my stop to be all the way up here. So I'm going to just move my stop, and you can either click on it and move your stop like so and move it down to this other side because I want to start here, or you can right click on your mouse and go to edit, and the blue nodes are called outlines, and you can hit outlines, and then only thing you would be able to edit is the outlines, or you can hit entry and exit, which is the start and stop. Okay, so I have changed my stop from here to here, and that's going to be good for me. Okay, so the next thing that I would kind of want to do is I want to connect this ear from this ear. So now I want to make a run stitch. So I'm going to click on run, and I'm going to start my run right here, and I'm just going to travel through this other color, the outline, until I reach the white point of the next bunny ear. Okay, and so if we go back up here to our shape tool, you'll see that my start starts here and my stop starts here, so that's good. All right, so now I'm going to go back to my complex fill, which is this button here, looks like a folder, and we are going to make the white of this other bunny ear. Now you see here I'm kind of on the outside there. All you have to do is hit backspace, and you can go and start your point over. Now I'm going to do more of a curve. So I'm going to hold down my control key, and I'm going to left click on my mouse so that I can get more of a curve. All right, I right click and hit enter, and now you see that I have 2 bunny ears done, 1 color, and no trims. So it will continuously just stitch this out without having to stop the embroidery machine once you get done here and get over to this next stitch out. It will just sew this, continue on my run, and sew this other part of the ear. And let me show you on my slow redraw. Now I'm just going to bring it down just a little bit so you guys can see. Let me just make it for now. Make the colors, we'll make them pink for now. Just so you can see how it's going to stitch. All right, slow redraw. And I'm just going to speed that up a little bit. All right. So that is part one. Now I'm going to change these colors back to white, which I'm just going to go down here to my sequence section of my software. I'm going to right click on the stitch out that I want. And then I'm going to left click back onto the white. Oh, excuse me, that's right click. Right click back onto white to change that ear back to white. So I'm going to right click, and it changed it back to white. Okay, so the next part of the bunny ears, the next part of the bunny that I want to do, I'm not going to do this white part right now because I want this to be satin and I don't want that to be a flat complex fill. So it is going to create some kind of jump once we get ready to do those eyes, but sometimes you're just not going to be able to avoid the jumps in trims. You're going to have them in situations like that. However, you want to minimize the trims and jumps that you're going to have to try and get as least amount of trims as possible. All right. So again, I'm not going to start on these eyes yet because I'm going to save those for last because I want those to be more of a satin stitch, which is a more raised stitch versus the complex fill stitch, which is a flat stitch. So what I'm going to do now is I guess I'll start on the inside of his eyes. Because we're going to do all those blacks together. So what I would want to do is I would come over here to my shape tool and I would find out where I last started off. I'm going to start a run. I'm going to run a stitch from all the way inside here, all the way down to his eyes. So we're going to push run, which is the backwards S over here. And we're just going to run a stitch. And all this is going to be hidden by a satin stitch, so you don't have to really worry about that. We're going to come in here like this, and we're going to go over to this black eye, and we're going to stop that run right there, okay? And we can leave that in white because it's just going to eventually change colors to do the black anyway. So we'll go ahead and apply that. Now we're going to do the black part of this eye. All right. So now that's going to be a complex fill. I'm going to come back down here to my shape that looks like a folder, and I'm just going to make a circle. I'm going to hold down my control key and left key on my mouse, and we're just going to go around. And I don't really like that. Let's go back because, again, you want to overlap those colors. So I'm going to go inside the glasses and inside a little bit of the white part of the eye. So that once I do the satin stitch on the white part of the eye, we won't have any gaps. Okay, so we're going to change this complex fill to black. We're going to left click over on our sequence panel over here for the last digitizing part that we stitched out. And we're going to come over to black, and we're going to right click it and change that to black, and then we're going to apply. Okay, so that's the first part of the eye. I'm just going to blow that up just a little bit, and we're going to check to see. You see this part of my eye is not really all inside of that glasses like I want. So we're going to come up here to the shape tool, and we're just going to bring this little node guy out. Okay, I'm going to edit outlines, and we're just going to bring it right to the center of those glasses. And you see how that changed that over. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and digitize this part of the eye. So we're going to go ahead and let me see, where did I make that stop? You see the stop is all the way over here. Well, I don't want that stop over there because I'm trying to get to this side of the design. So I'm going to right click on my mouse. I'm going to click edit, and I'm going to click entry and exit points. And I'm just going to move my stop button over to here. And actually, I think I'm going to change my start and stop at the same place, because my run stops here. So we can start it here, and then we can stop it here also. And then we can go on to digitizing this part of the eye. So I'm going to push run, and I'm just going to travel another stitch back up over to this side of the eye, and I'm going to click enter. Now this particular run, we don't want it to be white, because then it's going to change the colors and it's going to create a stop and a trim. So we're going to go down here to our sequence panel. We're going to left click on that run stitch, and we're going to go down here to colors, and we're going to right click to make that run black, to keep it black, and apply. Okay, now we're going to come back to our complex fill, which is our image that looks like a folder, and we're going to start here where we left off, and we're going to go around in that eye to make the other part of the eye, like so. And we're going to hit enter. We're going to come to our sequence panel. We're going to right click to make that black, and apply. All right, so now we have done our bunny ears. We have done our eyeballs. And if you look up here at the top of our screen, you see that we have 0 trims for our design, because we did insert those run stitches to just keep the machine running smoothly. We do have 3 stops, and that's just to change the colors. 1 stop here for when we start. I don't know why this stop is here, because it's not going to stop. It's just going to keep traveling. And then 1 stop here when we change the color from black to white for our run to get to the other eye. All right. So now I'm going to just show you guys one more thing, and then I'm going to show you the redraw of the whole outline, because it's just going to take me forever to show you guys how to do this whole image. But I'm just going to kind of explain what I'm trying to do, and then I'm going to show you what I did. All right, so we finished this eyeball. So next I want to go back over here and start doing some of my outlines. So again, let me go to my shape tool. I want to see where I left off. And that's fine. I left off here on my eyeball. So I want to create a run, because I want to get back to this part of my outline now. Okay. So I'm going to hit a run, and I'm going to run a stitch from here over to, let's say, this bottom part, because I want to start at the bottom, and then I want to work my way all the way back around. So I'm going to stop my run there. I'm going to make it black. And then I'm going to go ahead and start on this part of the black outline. Now I do want this to be a satin stitch, so we're going to go down here to the very first shape at the bottom, which is satin. And I'm going to see if this is going to work for me, because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So let's see. Now the way the instructions said, again, I want to start with a point. So I'm going to left click on my mouse at that very point, And I want this to be curved, so I'm going to hold down my control key. Again, you guys, you want to overlap. So I want to get a little bit into that yellow. Well, actually, on the shape outline, I do not, because I want that to be exactly what it's going to be. Okay, so I don't want to exaggerate that part. So I'm going to do a point, curve, 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 curve. I'm going to go up into these glasses a little bit. Now it says when you get ready to change directions, you want to right click on your mouse before you continue when you're doing the shape tool. And that should make it act the way that it's supposed to act. We'll see. Sometimes it acts good for me and sometimes it doesn't. I'm going to end with the point here and I'm going to press enter. Ah, look at that, you guys. And it turned out really, really good this time. So now you see this one is more flat and this one is great. It is more of a satin raised stitch. So I'm going to come over here to my shape tool and you see my start starts here and my stop starts here. But I'm going to move my stop down a little bit because I want to do this part of the design next. I don't want to start way over there. So I'm just going to bring my stop button down a little bit so I can start here. Let's just start it right in that corner. Oops, messed up. So we're going to backspace and apply. Now we're going to go back to satin and we're just going to make the next part of our design. Now you can either make this all as one, but the way that I've seen a lot of the digitizers who've been digitizing for a while do it is they break it up. So they'll make this part one stitch and then this part another stitch versus having this all be one piece. And I think I like that better. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to hit our satin stitch over here and we're going to start here. We're going to curve, curve, come up into the pink glasses. We're going to change direction. So we're going to hit the right click key on our mouse. We're going to come back down and around. And stop it right where we left off. And then right click to enter. All right, and I kind of like that. I don't want that, guys, so we're going to go down here. That'll highlight the last stitch that we did. That's our next satin. And I'm just going to fix this just a little bit because I don't like that it's pushed over so much. So I'm going to left click on my blue node, right click, edit, and then I'm going to edit the outlines. And then I'm just going to push this little line in just a little bit like that. Still keeping it a little bit lapped over this part of the design because we don't want it to be too far out here. You guys can see that where it's gonna, if I put it very right here on the edge, it's gonna create a gap. So you still want to have it a little bit overlapping that first part of your design and then apply. Okay, so then lastly, we'll go ahead and we'll do this last part of our outline here. So we're going to hit satin. Excuse me. And we're going to, I don't know, maybe we'll start here. And we're going to go inside our pink glasses. We're going to come around. We're going to hold control for the curve. Once we get to the point, we want that more pointy, so we're going to let control go and make a square, and we're going to come in here like so. We're going to overlap it just a little bit, and we're going to stop. All right, and you see, I forgot to change positions and hit the right mouse key when I was doing the design, so as you can see, when I hit enter, it didn't do anything. So let's try that again. We're going to start with a square or a straight line. We're going to go into our glasses. We're going to go up here. Now I'm going to switch directions. So I'm going to right click on my mouse to change directions. We're going to come back down on the curve, more of a straight. So we're going to hit that point. Now we want it to be more of a curve. We're going to come back in here just ever so slightly. And now when we hit enter, it gives us the end part of the design. But this is what I'm telling you guys that it does to me sometimes now. So you see, it's like so weird right here. So I'm going to hit my shape tool to try to see what's going on. And it looks like my angle lines are all going this way. So that is why it's giving me that funny shape. So I'm going to left click on my mouse. And then I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to hit edit, and then I'm going to do angle lines to see where are all my angle lines. And I'm going to blow it up kind of big. And I see this one angle line here. I'm going to just bring that one down there. I'm going to change this one a little bit to here. And it looks like I don't see any more angle lines. So now I'm going to right click and I'm going to add an angle line. And then to all you need to do to add the angle line is you just need to go across the design like so. And it'll add you more yellow angle lines. Then I'm going to see if that's going to make it better. It looks a little bit better. So I'm going to enlarge the image again. I'm going to hit my shape tool. I'm going to right click on my mouse, edit, and I'm going to go to edit angle lines. And then I'm just going to change my angle lines a little bit more of how I want them to stitch out. Moving them a little bit more slantier like so. Hit enter, push apply, and we'll see how that looks. Go back up here to my left side of my screen, hit the top arrow select key, and let's see how that looks. That looks kind of wonky, you guys. I'm going to change this color to black so you guys can see it. And that still looks kind of weird to me. I don't really like it. So in this instance, when I can't get my part of my design to be good on a satin stitch, what I do that works for me is I come back down here to my sequence size. I click on the last part that I digitized out, which is this last satin here. And you'll know it's the last satin because it'll put a square. And I'm just going to delete it off. You can go to the back arrow undo key. But that's only going to undo it one time. So you can right click on your mouse and you can go up here to delete, and that'll delete that whole thing off. So what I like to do is I like to go over here and I'll start off as a complex fill, and we're going to do the same thing. Complex fills, it doesn't really act all weird like that for me. Now maybe not for some of you, but for me it does. So I'm going to go inside this other shape here. I'm going to hit enter, and now you see the difference. This one is a raised satin and this one is a complex fill. But I don't want it to be a complex fill. I do want it to be a satin. It's just that I couldn't get that satin to act right when I did over here, and I clicked the satin stitch out button. So I started with the complex fill button. We're going to come down here to complex fill. We're going to click on that. We're going to right click. We're going to go up here to convert to, and then I'm just going to change it to a satin. And now you see it looks more better. It looks way better, you guys, than it did when I just started off with the satin tool. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and just fix these nodes a little bit, push them in, make them a little bit more nice. So we're going to click on our last design satin stitch that we stitched out, digitized, and we're going to come over here to our shape tool to get our nodes. And I'm just going to push it in just a little, like so. Let's change all these back to black. And let's bring our design down a little bit. And so now you guys can see that we have all of this part of the image digitized out. And okay, apply. All right, and so now the last thing I'm going to show you guys how to do, and because I'm not going to do the whole design again, I'm going to just let you see it on auto redraw, is just how to add in another flat surface here, a big complex fill after you've already done your satin stitches here. So this is the last part of the design that I digitized. So I'm going to click on that. Okay, so now we're on black. Okay, but now I'm going to switch to yellow. And because of that, I'm going to do a run stitch so I can get back down here on the bottom part of his face. And I can't remember exactly how I did digitize it out, but I'm going to show you the way I'm going to do it now. I'm going to start on this bottom part of the face, and then I'm going to go up to this top part of the face. So I would create a run stitch from here. Let's just go through these glasses just so you can get used to making your runs. And you could stop. We're going to start it over here. Okay, we're going to hit enter. We're going to go down to our sequence panel. We're going to highlight that run, and we're going to change it to black. Because we did leave off on black, so we're just going to start it on the black. Okay, so then our next color we're going to do is our yellow complex fill. So this button here, again, our folder, is our complex fill. Now we're going to go start where we left off on our last run, and we're going to just go into our black satin stitch, right? And in the middle of our glasses, because we don't want no gaps. And here we can just go all the way up like so. Let's go back over here. We're going to come back around this way. We're going to come down a little bit. We're going to run it back through those glasses, and don't worry about going over that black top color, because once we stitch out those glasses, it's going to look nice. We're going to stay inside those glasses. This is so we don't have any gaps, you guys. That's kind of close to the edge, so we're going to go more in the middle there. And then we're going to end up where we left off. Oh, no, we're not, because I need to get this part of the eye. So I'm going to highlight this back with my shape tool. And I'm going to first go down here and make that yellow. You see, I started here and I stopped here. Okay. So let's say initially I should have went this way and got that color and then made it all one piece, but I forgot. So now all I need to do is I would start here. Let's move my stop over to here, because now I want to start here. I want a complex fill. And I want to make this last part of my yellow glasses. Excuse me, the yellow part of my eye. All right. And then I'll stop it there. Now, as you guys can see, we did our satin stitches. We did our complex fill for the bottom part of our face. And I'm going to leave this white just for now so you guys can see it. It's going to be a separate stitch out, but it's going to be the same color. So it's going to continuously run. So I'm going to turn that color to yellow now. I'm going to hit apply. Let me see where my start and stops are. So I started here and I ended here. But let's end it over here. Apply. And if you look up here at the top of your screen, you'll see that we still only have one trim. And that's the one trim where we started off here after we switched colors. Okay? All right. And then if we wanted to go up here to do the next part of our yellow, all we would do, we could make a run from here to here. Hit enter. And then we're going to start our complex fill in the inside of those glasses, back through our outline. So we're working on that yellow part now. I'm just going to go all the way around. I don't like that one, so we backspace to redo that. Come back in our glasses. And we're going to stop right there. And now you see we have the top part of the yellow part of our face, the bottom part of our yellow part of our face. We have the white ears and the black outline, and all we have is one trim. And that's because we hid runs underneath all of our designs, right? Under each section. And that'll keep us from having a lot of trims. Otherwise, we could have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8 trims. And we don't want that. We want as few trims as possible. Okay. And so with that, I'm going to stop it there. And I am going to let you guys see what it looks like when I do the slow retrace. And then you can see how I stitched everything out. And then we're going to head on over to the embroidery machine where we're going to stitch it out on our fabric. Trims. So in order to see how you digitize out your design is you're just going to go up here to your button next to your percent sign, which is your slow redraw. You're going to click that button. I like to move my arrow all the way over to the right. And then you're just going to push the arrow keys. And then you're just going to watch the screen and you're going to see how I did actually digitize out the design. All right. And that's how I ended up digitizing out the whole design. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our shirt set up on our Hoop Master station so we can go ahead and get this design stitched out. All right, and I just want you guys to know that when I very first started digitizing and embroidering on my very first embroidery machine, again, it was a Singer. I'm not sure what model Singer it was, but it was a Singer sewing and embroidery combo machine. And I was so intimidated when I did try to do the shirts at first because, you know, making them flat and getting the stitch out right. And this is actually one of my first shirts that I stitched out. And as you guys can see, it came out horrible. It just came out horrible. And I was so discouraged trying to do shirts because I'm like, man, what happened? I put my stabilizer underneath the bottom. And this was just a design I bought because at that time I didn't even have any digitizing software. And I'm thinking like, man, that came out horrible. That came out horrible. And with that, I stopped doing shirts altogether. Wouldn't embroider no shirts. I did do jeans and jackets and pillows, and I had very much success with that. But with this shirt, it was not a winner. And so I didn't digitize any shirts anymore. And it wasn't until I ended up getting my CHROMA MT1501 that I did start trying to digitize and stitch out shirts again. And they came out so much better. And so what I think happened when I had my old Singer machine was that it just could have been just the way it was digitized out. It had way too many stitches, or that my tension could have been off. It just could have been way too tight. I don't know. But I was really discouraged at that point. Now, moving forward, again, once I got on my commercial machine and I tried it again, I was loving it at this point. So now I do all kind of t-shirts. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get our Hoop Master station set up so that we can get this design digitized out on our shirt. So all you would do is you would just put the bottom part of your mighty hoop into your Hoop Master station like so. And you want to make sure that the words are flat side down like that. This is my last piece of my cutaway stabilizer that does not reach my top and bottom brackets. Remember, I told you guys, that's why you never see me putting them in these brackets here, because it is just too short. I could turn it this way and probably still get it. And just for this video, I guess I'll just turn it this way just to show you guys how it works. So it would snap under there. And this part I'm not going to put in because then it would just be folded up under my design like this, and I don't want to have a double piece of cutaway stabilizer stitching onto my shirt. So I'm just going to leave that part out. But you would have it like that, and if this was not all the way so long, then I could put it in here like so, and it would hold it down. But it's not a biggie because once I put the top part of the mighty hoop onto this bottom part of this mighty hoop, it's going to catch all that stabilizer anyway. So next, I'm going to take my shirt and I'm just going to put it over on top of my mighty hoop like this. All right. So now I put this tape on my shirt because this is where I want my design to start stitching, like right up here by this tape. So as you can see, this is the center line. These V-neck shirts are really great because you can just line up the V with that line. And that should give you the center part of your design. And then all you would do is you would take your top part of your mighty hoop and you just would snap it down. Now, again, I want my design to start here, right? So my mighty hoop is here. And my design usually is going to come down about a ½ inch here. So it's going to start designing way up here. So I don't want that. So let me take this off, this top part of this hoop, and get it adjusted again. And I'm going to show you how to get it so that my design starts stitching on the top part of this piece of tape. All you're going to do is you're just going to move your shirt up a little bit. Right? Like that. Pretty simple, right? You're going to just move your shirt up. You're going to take the top part of your mighty hoop. You're going to make sure this U part is on the right hand side because that's the way it's going to go in your embroidery machine. This U part is always to the right side of your hoop. And then you're going to put it down. And then that looks more better, you guys. So that is going to stitch about there. And that's fine. We're going to take this off of our Hoop Master station. And I never screwed this top one down, so I'm just going to slide that one back on there like so. And there you have it. We've got our shirt set up and it's ready to be embroidered now. Stabilizer is pretty good. And we're going to head on over to our embroidery machine so we can get this design stitched out. All right, everybody. So I'm over here now to my CHROMA MT1501. I'm just going to go ahead and put my shirt through this bar. So these two, this hole is going to go around this bar. So we're going to make sure that we don't sew our shirt together. Got to keep saying that because every now and again you think you got it and it's right on top. And you don't want to have that shirt stitching together. Okay, so I'm just going to reach in, make sure my shirt is all the way on the bottom. That's good. I'm going to push number 1 on my embroidery machine. And you'll see that it's going to go to the middle of the embroidery hoop. Also, then what I'm going to do is I am going to oil my machine because I haven't used it in a couple of days. And I want to be good to my embroidery machine. So I'm just going to give it a little oil on these top dots here. I'm going to go to needle 15. And then I'm going to oil these other screws up here as well. Right at the top of the head. All right, that should be good. All right, our design is loaded into my embroidery machine. I'm just going to go ahead and do a trace to enter the design into the machine. And then we're going to be ready to stitch it out. All right, and that looks good to me. I already have my color set. So here we go, you guys. Here we go. Let me just move this one little straggler string that I got there. I'm just going to stop for a second and just rip my tape off. I don't want to stitch no tape together. Here we go. everybody, and so with that, the design is done. So let me go ahead and clean up my trims and I'll show you guys what it looks like. Okay, everybody, and with that, the embroidery is done. So let me show you what it looks like. My wonderful, bright, chic Easter chick bunny design. Okay, so now let me show you guys a few things that happened here. Okay, as you can see right here on the top and on the side here, I did get a little bit of registration issues, and let me explain to you why that happened. When I was showing you guys how to put in the cutaway stabilizer into the Hoop Master station, and I put it in going vertical so that I can show you how those little tabs flip down over the stabilizer. My stabilizer got hooped vertically all the way around, but it did not get hooped all the way around horizontally right here. As you can see right there, it was out just a little bit, and so because of that, it did cause registration issues on the push and pull here right above those glasses and on the side of the glasses. Okay, so what you want to make sure that you do is that you get your stabilizer hooped all the way around your hoop vertically and horizontally, and then you should be able to avoid those issues. Now, what I did was I did go ahead and stitch it again on that t-shirt that what I used to be scared of. Remember that same ugly design from when I used to have my home domestic embroidery machine? And I did get all of the cutaway stabilizer throughout on the design. And so now, as you guys can see, it did come out beautiful, and I did not have any registration issues. All right, so again, just make sure you guys that your stabilizer is going all the way around your embroidery hoops and overlap your stitch designs when you're digitizing your design, and you should be fine. You should not have any problems. Okay? All right, and again, my name is Tracy with JDL Threads. I want to thank you guys for watching my video today, and remember for me, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.